Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to get your engine bay fully stitch welded back down to bare metal and ready for primer and paint so it ends up looking like this. As you guys can see, it's a messy job, but using that air scraper to get all the seam sealer, the bulk of it out beforehand, does help a lot with not making a huge mess because you're not scraping up or wire wheeling or grinding off a huge amount of the seam sealer. You're just doing whatever's left over in these seams. So at this point, I can continue paint prep and getting all this sanded down. I'm not going completely bare metal, but I'm going to try to get most of the spray paint off. Areas I can't reach like this, just going to give it a scuff. I will be sealer priming the whole entire bay, but rule of thumb is I kind of want to concentrate on the areas your eyes are drawn to. So looking at right now, you know the engine is going to be center here. You know, your turbo piping kind of hiding that side. You'll have your intake here. The main parts you're going to see are the wheel tubs, strut towers, and this back of the firewall. And then obviously the core support as well. So you really want to concentrate most of your time there. Everything else, get it good enough to at least have the paint adhere really well. Like the front end here, like with the headlights in and everything, you're not really going to see a whole lot of that. So obviously still prep it. Don't half-ass and skip it. You just don't got to go ham like on the strut tower here, going basically back to metal everywhere. You can kind of just give everything a scuff if it has good paint. If not, like me, this has been spray painted for, so everything that you're drawn to, we're going to be getting most of it 90% back down to bare metal. So at this point, I am going to take a break of doing the paint prep, and I'm going to start the stitch welding on this side. And I'll put you on the time lapse for that. That's pretty simple. Everywhere you see the strut tower seams here along the frame rail, which this brings up a good point also. This is spot welded from factory, and you can see all the gaps. It's not all flush. Like right there, you can see it kind of pops out. So I'll go with a hammer as I stitch weld it, make everything flush. Sorry for the sniffles. It's getting winter time season. I get real bad sniffles in winter. I don't know if it's allergies being stuck in the house since it's freezing out, or maybe all this paint dust I'm breathing in, but we'll get through it. Bear with me. But I'll put you back on the time lapse. I'm gonna do a couple more touch-up spots, and then we'll start spot welding. Alright, so we got the welder all hooked up here. You don't need anything fancy. This is just a Eastwood MiG 180. As for settings, it's about where I'm starting at. This does have a tack function, which I've never used, so I'll try it. Let's see how it works out. And we'll go from there and put you up on the time lapse, and I'll give you a little close-up shots when we're finished. Alright guys, so I got one side essentially done as you saw in that time lapse. This is kind of the end product here. So I'm not going too crazy with stitch welding every single panel in the engine bay. Mainly focusing on the strut towers and then the main top rail that leads to the strut towers, and then the connecting panels from the frame rail up to the strut towers. So a lot of people like to go overboard with the size of the tacks. You don't need giant tacks. You're adding, both sides of the engine bay, you're probably adding 600 welds into the factory spot welds. So all these little guys are already going to be greatly stronger than what's there from factory. So we have that. We have the bottom frame rail tacked in up until this point. I gotta remove the rear brake line so I can get in there and clean it. We have all around the shock tower. We have down the shock tower. We have the top end brace here. Going back to this brace. All around the back. I do have to clean out this corner, but I need to get this wiper motor off, which I don't have the right wrench size. For some reason my 14 went missing. Once that's off, I can get in here. I can clean up this back side and this corner, get that stitch welded. I think the only additional part I'm going to stitch weld that's not, obviously this side I'm going to mirror to the other side. I will also be stitch welding this back. There's a seam underneath the sealer on the firewall. I think I will be tack welding that as well. Won't be tack welding anything on the core support. That is quote unquote going to be the crumple zone, so you don't want that to be super rigid to where, God forbid, you get an accident at the track or something and this is so rigid it just pushes your frame and buckles your frame. So at that point your car's kind of fucked. You can get it pulled out, but it'll never really be the same. But yeah, I'm going to put you back on the time lapse here. I'm about done for tonight actually, but tomorrow after work I will be getting brake booster out, master cylinder out, throttle cable out. I should probably get these fuel lines out as well. Not the safest to be welding around those guys. But tomorrow we'll be basically copying this side. Be sanding all the base coat that's already there off. Cleaning up all the seam sealer. Get all the tack welds done. I'm hoping by the end of it this will be in primer, ready for base coat by, see, today is Wednesday night. Hoping latest next Monday, Tuesday. It is a timely process, but everything else on the car is pretty upfront and easy to do. It's just all bolt-on stuff. This is the only really time-consuming thing to do is prepping the bay and painting it. The body panels are all straight. Doors super straight, roof super straight. I have new overs, new hood. Fenders and kit were already painted nicely, so all that's relatively quick to do. This is just the most time-consuming thing. So yeah, I'm gonna go inside, tired and hungry. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We're gonna finish up the passenger side and then get started on the driver's side. What's up guys? So last time I checked in was on Thursday. We had the passenger side sanded as you saw on the time lapse. This is where we sit currently. Got the passenger side and core support done. Passenger or driver side now is almost there. I gotta do the back of the strut tower, but as I was peeling seam sealer on this side, I did discover a little rust spot on the bottom of the strut tower. So I've already cut it out. It was just out in the outside layer. The rest of this we will neutralize with our rust neutralizer. But I picked up a sheet of 16 gauge here, which might be on a little bit of the thicker side of what you'd want to use, but a little bigger won't hurt nobody. So I'm gonna get a piece of cardboard. I'm gonna cut out a little section here. I'm gonna basically match it to this bottom lip. I'm gonna go up basically maybe a little past the brake line hole, and I'll cut that out of the new sheet. I'll tack it on this side, and then I'll go on the inside of the wheel well, and I'll hammer out all this metal here, make it flush, grind it all down, and yeah, I'll show you the process of that. Alright, so I got you guys down in here, nice and close. I'm going to want to follow this bottom line here, so I'm going to line up with our strut tower seam here already. And just try to get this bottom piece lined up as best I can with our piece of paper here. I want it to go to about right here. That is pretty decent already. We can grind that down and separate it later. And I'm going to try to follow this little crease line that's already in the strut tower. It goes flat and then creases here to curve up. I'm just going to mark that with my fingy. And it's right about there. We will cut it and leave some extra, just in case we want to go back. So that looks pretty good like that. And we'll just mark out this hole. Now if you got a dirty finger, you can just kind of rub the hole with your finger and it gives you a decent line to follow. And just like that. And then we can trim the top a little bit once it's cut out to something, you know, perfect. We can trim it right here, trim it down right there if we need to. Do something like that. And that seems pretty ideal. So we'll get that over, transferred onto our sheet metal, and we can get that cut out. Alright guys, so we got you back up in the engine bay here. This is our cutout metal. We'll go something like that right there. First we're going to tap in all these edges from getting the sheet metal into place. Now it doesn't have to be perfectly flat, so we're going to go from the other side in the wheel well to hammer that back against this plate. We just want this plate to be flush with this bottom line here, so essentially be like that. So now we can get a few tacks on, because I'm going to want to sit here and I'm going to get these tacks on, and I'm going to hammer this edge in, and then hammer that edge in, and then weld the top, and then we go from the back side and we'll get these layers welded to the back side of this plate. What's up, guys? It's now Monday night and I have the rest of the engine bay all prepped, essentially ready to spray. So we're going to get this thing masked off, and that'll probably be the end of this video. The next video will be actually priming it, base coating it, and getting all finished with that. I did get a new hood in for the car. This is a Origin Type 2 vented hood. Got some vents back here and then through the back by the cowl. We'll see how that fits once the engine base paint is where I put the fenders and front end back on, and then we can start tearing into that thing and doing a couple mods to the engine. But let's get this thing fully masked up and ready for paint. Alright guys, so we got the car all masked off here. Did a down and dirty masking job. Use tin foil. Get kind of hard stuff to mask, the steering shaft and one brake line. The fuel lines I'm not too worried about because it's going to get all new -6 lines from the tank forward. We have here up to the door, because I will be spraying just this top portion here. Cover your floor. Not only does it help dust not kick up since you're covering anything up, but also it keeps your floor from not having a bunch of paint on it, because you do this once, it might be fine. You do this to multiple cars and your floor might be different colors. Ask me how I know. I have my wheels here just tarped over and the whole car tarped off, and you're probably wondering, if I'm painting the car later, why even bother with this? Well, if you're going to be lazy and not mask the car off, you're just going to create even more work for your future self when you get overspray on the glass, overspray on other shit that you weren't originally going to paint. So mask off anything that you're not intending on painting the color you're painting the car, or in this case engine bay, right now. Just make your life easier down the road. So painting the bay, we are using a couple budget friendly options. So usually if I do anything budget, I go to this brand called Eurochem. So we have their Eurochem epoxy primer and a Eurochem single stage low gloss, just hot rod satin gloss black top coat. That's nice because if you ever nick something in the engine bay or you have to go back and pick something up down the road, it's not a base clear, you don't have to blend anything. You can just sand that one area and kind of spot spray that one area, make it look good and match the rest. So yeah, so that'll probably be the end of this video. The next video will be me laying down some epoxy primer and then laying down the base coat. And from there on out, we can get the subframe modifications done, get that back in the car so we can make this a roller again. And then from there on out, we'll probably start diving into this. This will be getting a dual rocker guide conversion, couple other things on the pulley system, oil cooler, filter housing. More cool, I guess, would be we're also going to a Future Fab top mount manifold. We'll be keeping the G25, just going to a top mount with a different exhaust housing. We have all those parts ordered. There's a couple Black Friday deals going on, so ordered up all of that. So that is it for this video, guys. Next video we'll see the bay get painted and we'll start diving deeper into this car. But if you like this content, please drop a follow, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.